Today's first video with some new stories. Firstly, from Somalia, where inauguration ceremony of newly elected President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is about to start. Leaders from neighboring countries have landed in Mogadishu. Who has arrived in Mogadishu so far from Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, Sudan, and Djibouti? We have details for you. A second news story is from neighboring Somaliland. Two opposition parties have been saying that they would protest against Musi Bahi Abdi, that the president was not sincere in conducting next presidential election in November. The two sought permission to protest. The permission was not granted, but today protests were held. Police tried to stop the protests and police used force as well. At least one former minister has been arrested. Third news story is about an exciting match in coming hours between the football teams of Egypt and Ethiopia at 7 p.m. local time, Ethiopian local time. The match will be played. Where will this match be played? What is the track record of the two teams? Lastly, viewers, Eritrean Information Ministry a few hours ago published an article about alleged yellow journalism, that a campaign is underway backed by TPLF to malign Eritrea, to resuscitate TPLF, so to say. We'll have a detailed look at this statement issued by Eritrean Information Ministry. Firstly, viewers, first news story is from Somalia, where new President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud will be inaugurated today. Inauguration ceremony is being held at Mogadishu airport. Foreign dignitaries, regional leaders are arriving in Mogadishu these minutes. Who have arrived in Somalia so far? Firstly, PM Abiy of Ethiopia has landed in Mogadishu. We can confirm. PM Abiy had very friendly ties with previous President Farmajo. It was said that Farmajo, Abiy and Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea were in alliance. But it seems that PM Abiy wants to have good relations with the new president as well, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud. PM Abiy is accompanied by a delegation of ministers who are mostly Muslims, Somali, with Somali ethnic background, like Adam Farah, Vice Chairman of Prosperity Party, is part of the delegation. Ahmad Shide is also there. Mustafa Umar, Somali region's president, is accompanying PM Abiy as well. From Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, outgoing president, has arrived in Mogadishu. In coming weeks, presidential election will be held in Kenya. And Uhuru Kenyatta is at the end of his term. We know that Kenya-Somalia relations have not been very friendly during the tenure of Abdullahi Farmajo. Now a new era is going to start of Somalia-Kenya relations. Thirdly, Djibouti President Ismail Omar has also arrived in Somalia. Again, Djibouti Somalia relations also went through ups and downs during the tenure of Abdullahi Farmajo. It seems that Djibouti Somalia relations will improve as well. From Egypt as well, Prime Minister of Egypt Mustafa Madbole arrived in Mogadishu. He was welcomed by Somalia's Prime Minister Mohammed Hussein Roble. From the UAE, Shahbout bin Nahyan, Minister of Foreign Affairs for Africa, has arrived in Mogadishu, and delegation from from South Sudan, Uganda, and several other countries have arrived in Somalia. What about Eritrea? Any representation from Eritrea? Not clear so far that who is there. Has Eritrea been invited to attend the ceremony? It's not clear. We have not seen so far any top Eritrean dignitary. Maybe in coming I will update you about participation of Eritrea or not in this ceremony. The next video will update you what will happen at the ceremony. It's about to start now. The second news story is from Somaliland, neighboring self-declared country, where opposition parties are taking to the streets against Musi Bahi Abdi, president of the Somaliland. Opposition parties Wadani and UCID say that Musi Bahi Abdi is not interested in transparent, free and fair next presidential election due to be held in November at the end of this year. The two parties submitted a letter of protest requesting permission to protest in Somaliland a few days ago. The permission was not granted. Instead, Somaliland's Interior Ministry directed the police to tighten security arrangements. But today, Wadani party of Abdurrahman took to the streets. Abdurrahman led the protest himself in Hargeisa, Somaliland's capital. In several places, people demonstrated. Peaceful demonstration, but police intervened. Police tried to intercept the protesters. Some say live bullets were fired. Others say that aerial firing was done by the police. Use of force is being reported. Minor injuries are being reported as well. Abdullahi, who is former minister of Somaliland, he has been arrested in connection with these protests. So it's very much clear that the government today tried to stop political protest. Somaliland takes pride in being a democratic country. Opposition parties have a right to protest. Why is the government stopping these demonstrations by political parties? The two parties and ruling party Kulmiye of Musi Bahi Abdi are in disagreement about registration of new political parties. We have seen clashes of physical confrontation between MPs of the two sides at Somaliland's parliament a few days ago. The situation is far from being peaceful in Hargeisa in Somaliland. Some protesters arrested and some received minor injuries as well. We have a clip for you from today's protest in Hargeisa. Watch this clip, then next news story. Thirdly, viewers, an exciting football match is going to be played in the coming hours between two arch rivals, Ethiopia and Egypt, at 7 p.m. Ethiopian local time. The match will be played at Bingo National Stadium in Malawi, where qualifying round of African Cup of Nations 2023 is underway. Qualifiers are being played. In the last match, Ethiopia lost to Malawi 2-1 and Egypt won over Guinea 1-0. The two sides have played around 16 times in the past, Ethiopia and Egypt has considerable advantage. It won 11 out of the 16 competitions in the past. It lost on 2 occasions. What will happen today at Bingo National Stadium of Malawi at 7 p.m. Ethiopian local time. It remains to be seen. An exciting match, it seems, is on the cards. We'll update you in coming hours about this football match between Ethiopia and Egypt. Last viewers, Eritrea Information Ministry a few hours ago shared an article leveling some allegations against Tigray People Fund, international human rights organizations, and some news outlets as well. The Information Ministry claims that some media outlets, TPLF, and the human rights organizations are resorting to yellow journalism to promote agenda against Eritrea. An attempt is being made to resuscitate TPLF, which is on the back foot, and it is being tried to pave the way for international intervention to support Tigray People Fund. The article was issued in response to an article written by two human rights officials. I think 3 days ago in the Foreign Affairs, there was an article published written by Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International officials. Title of the article was Ethiopia's Invisible Ethnic Cleansing. And the two writers of human rights organizations claimed that Eritreans, Ethiopian government forces, they were involved in atrocities against Tigrayans, and Tigrayans were the victims of ethnic cleansing. The two human rights bodies a few weeks ago published a report about ethnic cleansing of Tigrayans in Western Tigray, Humbera, Volkai, Segde. Eritrean Information Ministry says that those writers, those human rights officials who are making these claims about ethnic cleansing of Tigrayans never visited Tigray. So they are doing distant reporting and they are basically supporting TPLF. At the same time, the Information Ministry appreciate a pro-Ethiopian government researcher and writer Anne Garrison, and a New Zealand-based journalist Alistair Thompson, who is in Ethiopia these days. Both Anne Garrison and Alistair Thompson have visited Ethiopia in the past few weeks. They visited Afar region, both of them. And then in their reporting, they said that Tigray forces were involved in destruction of infrastructure, in human rights abuses in Amhara and Afar regions. The Information Ministry of Eritrea is appreciating Anne Garrison and Alistair Thompson, pro-Ethiopian government journalists, but the ministry is criticizing Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International and this article. Now, because when you read any article, when you watch any report about Ethiopian conflict, Tigray, Eritrea, by international media, we must be aware of the writers, the researchers behind the reporting, because both sides have launched their media campaigns supported by particular journalists. So it would be better to watch and to read those sources which are neutral. But problem is that the sources which are neutral for TPLF are biased for Eritrea and vice versa. So that is why whatever is being said, try to take it with a grain of salt and try to dig deep into what is being said by both the parties. I'm not saying that just one party is lying. Both parties are sharing their narratives, but what needs to be done as a viewer, as a reader, is that we should challenge the narratives which are being launched by the two parties. Thank you for watching.